Hi, everyone. It's Ashley again with Kinship Vacations, and I am really excited to be joined by Kristen Smith of Blog Your Genius. I met Kristen at the Military Influencers Conference in Orlando. When was that?
September, the end of September,
Okay,
right?
yeah, the end of September. And actually, my colleague Mackenzie Jervis, if any of you have worked with us at Kinship Vacations at all, you know that Mackenzie is our client care and marketing manager. She's an amazing blogger. She actually introduced me to Kristen, and Kristen hosted this pre-conference event with her colleague, and it was a really cool way because I'd never been to this event to kind of get the mindset right for the conference that was going to happen, meet some other people, and actually meet Mackenzie in person for the very first time because we had been working with each other for 6 months virtually and hadn't actually met each other in person. So, for forever, Kristen will be kind of will have a soft spot in my heart for many reasons. But aside from how I met her, she's a very successful blogger and email marketing strategist. She's got a really cool website called Blog Your Genius. So while you're watching, please check it out. It's www.blogyourgenius.com, and I'll post that information in the comments as well. But she has this great community where she helps entrepreneurs build their blogging businesses, implement different strategies like email marketing, and all that good stuff. On top of that, she's an Army wife. So go Army wives. How many Army wives do I have watching? Give me a like or a love. By the way, I need to check and make sure I'm actually live because technology has not been cooperating lately. But yes, please, if you have any questions as she's going through this, she said that you're welcome to type it in the comments box and we can address it as we go. Maybe if it's a question that seems like she might answer it in a few minutes as she gets to it, she might just kind of look over it and skip to it. But otherwise, we'd love for this to be an interactive session so that you guys can get as most as you can out of it. And I can't impress upon you enough the importance as a travel entrepreneur on your email marketing strategy and your email marketing tactics, because as a home-based online business, really the health of your business depends on your email list in order to kind of build your prospect list and maintain that relationship, to build that trust and build your expertise and remind people that you're out there providing this great travel service. Email is where it's really at. So you can't overlook it. I know email's been around for forever compared to some of the sexy, shiny tools out there, but it's still the number one thing that people use for marketing. The most successful online entrepreneurs still depend on their email marketing strategies to keep their business going and keep their business healthy. So I don't want to talk anymore because I want to give Kristen the opportunity to talk. That's why you're here. But yeah, she's going to be really helpful to you. She's going to be amazing. I feel like I'm talking like Donald Trump right now with all the superlatives. But please tune in and stay with us and ask questions as they come. So thank you, Kristen. Please take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. Obviously, I'm a big believer in all the systems and structures that allow us to do our businesses our own way. And that was a really important one to me. I come from a traditional marketing agency background. That was where I started working. And then I met my husband and realized that following the Army was not going to make that traditional career very viable at the time. And so I had to find a new way around it. And I ended up in content marketing, which has been wonderful. And it's allowed me to build a business based on largely affiliate marketing and online education that lets me work from anywhere, which, as you can tell right now, I am working from my car, which
Yeah, I
is
didn't
super
mention
fun.
that.
And it's not the usual way that I teach classes, but it's the holiday weekend. We're having some internet snafus where we're visiting, and so here I am. But realistically, I've had to do this before. It's part of having those systems in place, and the flexibility to do that has been a tremendous gift for my family. And the flexibility that it's given me to maintain a career while still having the family life that I want to have and that's really important to me. So that's been a really powerful thing in my personal professional goals. And email has been a huge part of that. And here's the reason why. I am all about relationships. And what I found when I started really diving into content marketing and marketing strategy was that when I focused on relationships, it let me bypass a lot of the maybe sleazier tactics that didn't feel quite so good about doing in my business. And because the reality is this, right? People can find anything they want on the internet and probably cheaper than you can do it. That's not the reason that they're coming to you to help them find travel solutions, to help them find answers. It's not because they can't find it anywhere else. It's because the relationship with you makes it a more pleasant process. It makes it more fun. It makes it easier. Whatever pain point they specifically are looking to satisfy, you are able to hit that in a way that Google search never could. And that's a really powerful thing because that is the foundation of a relationship. And what email lets us do is email lets us nurture that relationship in a really positive way by creating tremendous value and giving that to that client or prospective client, that audience member, and developing that relationship, getting to know more about them and letting them know that you can meet them exactly where they're at. We're going to talk about exactly how we do that in a second. But let's start with this. Why do you need email marketing at all in the first place? It can feel like yet another system that you need, another thing on the to-do list, another piece of content to write, but it is so much more than that. And the reason is this. So if you are doing regular social media marketing, every Facebook message, every Instagram post that you put out, if you're not targeting it and using paid ads, it is exactly like your audience member, your potential client, the person you're hoping to convert, is standing in the middle of a high school gym, surrounded by radios playing all different stations, and you're going to put one advertisement on one radio station in that gym and hope that they hear it. There's a good chance, right? If you get the right radio station, if you are consistently putting out messages that resonate with them, there's a chance they might hear it. But there is a whole lot of noise in that room. And we all know what that noise feels like in our lives, right? We're just bombarded with information. So they have to wade through that noise in order to find that ad. Email is a little bit different. If you're not spammy, right? So we're gonna add the qualification that if you are running quality email strategy and you're not spamming, then an email is much more like when somebody asks you to bring a dish to a potluck and you remember that kid's mom on your kid's soccer team had that amazing dish and she offered you the recipe and you're going to give her a call because you just need to know how to make that salad because it was amazing for a potluck, right? So when she reaches out to you with that recipe, you're far more likely to use it than if you heard it on that radio station because it is a quality recommendation. Or if your neighbor is talking to you in conversation and says, oh yeah, I know you've been looking at fixing your fence. Let me give you the name of this guy, right? We all know how that goes. We get those kinds of recommendations. We give those kinds of recommendations. There's an implied relationship when someone we know and trust shares that with us. Word of mouth is really powerful for a reason. With email, what we're able to do is create a relationship where our audience member, our potential client, has trusted us enough and engaged with us enough to give us their email. They are giving us permission to contact them directly, to land right into their email box, which is a system that they interact with constantly, personally. That is an incredibly powerful connection to have with someone and a way of advancing that relationship. Now, in order to turn that engagement into a profitable conversion, it's going to take a little work on your part because you're going to need to offer them value and educate them about why it's worth investing in your service. But they've already invited you in. And so you are 10 steps ahead of anywhere that you start in other traditional marketing means. And that's why it's powerful. That in and of itself. So What are you going to do once you get them on your email? You're going to use this to educate. You're going to teach them about what you can do and how that can make their travel easier and smoother. You're going to nurture them. So you're going to offer them solutions and teach them about the ways that they can take advantage of the solutions that you offer. Because a lot of people may not have used a service like you're offering before. You're going to have to convince them why it's worth it. You're also going to remind past clients about how much they enjoyed working with you and why they should work with you again. Because we all know that it's easier to convert someone who's already experienced it, but we have to keep that information front and center and not make it hard for them to find us, right? If they used your service once, but maybe their computer crashed, or maybe they moved and they lost your information and they can't remember the name of your company. If you are actively engaging with them on email, they have a way to find you, right? You're reminding them of that great experience they had every time you send them something of value. So that keeps you top of mind and keeps that experience that they had with you fresh, so that when they have another travel opportunity come up, they are far more likely to reach out to you and make you a part of that travel decision. Ashley, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I keep thinking about the analogy that I like to bring up to people that, you know, back in the day when travel agencies were in a brick and mortar, excuse me, people would drive by on Main Street and they'd see that the travel agency was there every day. They may not necessarily stop into the travel agency every day, even though the travel agency was there. And they may not even step into the travel agency every month or every 6 months, but they knew it was there. And so because we don't have brick and mortar locations anymore, it's essentially email is essentially our virtual storefront, reminding people that we're there. We're, you know, providing consistent content. We're trying to build relationships. And so people get wrapped up around the idea like, you know, I don't want to flood their inbox with stuff they don't want, or I don't want to be intrusive. But the fact of the matter is, you know, they may not open it, but the fact that you're sending it out shows that your storefront is still there on Main Street when it's time for them to book their vacation. And that's kind of the reality of our industry, is that it's not necessarily something that people are needing to replenish every month of vacation. That would be nice, but it's more of a like a as needed thing. And just knowing that you're there and building that relationship of trust is sort of essential. And I feel like that's where email comes in.
Absolutely. And one of the great things we have now is that when you get to the point in your business that you need email, and it's a really simple equation for me in deciding what it is, and it's just this simple. So when you are ready to be nurturing clients, when you're not actively interacting with them, when you personally are not reaching out and picking up on the phone. So when your business is ready to scale a bit, then it's time to implement an email strategy, because we all know that often it takes multiple touches from your business for someone to decide to work with you. And you come to a time, particularly as a solopreneur, where you simply can't be doing all of that client nurture at the same time that you're filling all of your client needs to reach the revenue levels that you want to reach. Some of that nurture needs to happen by automation. And email is one of the earliest, simplest to implement, and most cost-effective ways to automate that nurture process and be developing leads until they're ready to pick up the phone and talk to you, or hop onto a Skype call, or however it is that you're interacting with your clients, or even email. So when they're ready to actually get specific about what they want, then they can do that. But in the meantime, your email system can be doing an incredible job of educating them about what their vacation options or their travel options for business are. And so let's talk a little bit about systems and how we can do that in a way that doesn't just add to your to-do list. I am an enormous fan of a system called ConvertKit. And the reason that I'm a fan of that system is because it has really powerful automation features. It also has really powerful segmentation features. And this is something that's really important, I think, for some people in the travel industry, because what you need to do in your email process is gather information about that particular individual, that particular audience member, as a way to develop that relationship. So this is how we put that Main Street feel of a small town storefront that you can walk in and the person knows where you went on vacation last year, so they're able to speak to what you want. They know you like beaches instead of mountains, that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
we need a system that does that. So let's talk about a potential way that you could utilize email to gather this information and nurture a client to the point that they're ready to book a vacation with you. So one of my favorite ways to build an email list is using a quiz. I use a program called Thrive Architect and Thrive Leads. And so I could put a quiz up on my website that talks about finding the perfect vacation spot for your family. And so they answer a small series of questions, maybe 5 or 6 questions about what they like to do to relax, how far they want to travel, do they have passport in hand, maybe how long they like to go on vacation for. Maybe they like a weekend getaway instead of taking a whole week or 10 days off of work. So we ask them a series of questions, and based on that series of questions, it gives them a quick little, maybe a mountain getaway or maybe Belize, right? Depending on what their answers were. So we pick a couple of different things, and on the answer, they can sign up with their email and get a guide to available vacation spots like this. So this is a piece of content that we've already created. We
Mm-hmm.
create one for maybe 3 or 4 different options, the quiz answers, and it gives them a lot of value. It tells them about some of the, vacation options that you really recommend, that you can personally, suggest. And it gives them a lot of value. It gives them something to start dreaming about, right? Because we all like to, especially when the weather is gray and it's cold. It is really cold here in New York today. Um, but it's cold and it's wet and it's kind of dreary. And so it's really fun to dream about where I'm going to go on vacation the next time I go. So we're going to empower that dream a little bit as a way of getting them on our email list. So we give them that, we give them some value, show them how much we know about these available travel spots, and that signs them up for your email list. And then over the next 3 or 4 months, maybe one of those questions on the quiz was, how long is it going to be until you plan to take your next vacation? And based on the answer to that question, we can tag that person in our email list with maybe 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And based on that tag, we can send them a very specific set of emails. So the 3 month person is going to get emails about last minute bookings, how to take advantage of great rates when you're filling an off season spot, things like that that apply to the next 3 months. The 6 month out person is going to get alerts or going to get emails about deadlines. When do they need to book their vacation? The 12 month person is going to get information about how to save for your vacation, when is the best
Mm-hmm.
time to book to get the best value, those sorts of things. Because based on how far out they're planning, that's going to tell you something about their priorities. That 3 month
Mm-hmm.
person probably values spontaneity and fun, maybe a little bit of adventure, maybe a little bit of risk. That's going to be the kind of vacation they're going to look for. The 12-month person is going to probably value something with a little more structure, maybe an all-inclusive type of resort, something with a lot of value because they're doing that planning ahead. And so you're able to, by gathering information, send them marketing material that is specifically tailored to how they vacation. And when you do that, you can deliver an experience that a hotels.com that they Google never could match, even
Mm-hmm.
with all of their options. And so that's how you differentiate yourself and nurture that relationship and create a foundation for them to see you as more than just a service. You are an expert, and you're an expert that makes their life easier. And the best part is that when you use a system like ConvertKit or there's a whole Drip, MailerLite, there's a ton of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you use a system like that, what it allows us to do is automate all of that. So if you have set up that system, you've sat down maybe with someone like me who does content strategy and created the quiz and the guides that go along with it and the sequences that spell out that they receive afterwards, but you don't have any direct one-to-one interaction with that lead until they are engaged enough that they decided to hit reply to one of those emails and ask you a specific question. And that means
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to invest your personal active time until you have an active, qualified lead who understands what you do. And that is a tremendous time saver when you're building your business.
Especially for a service-based business, and for many of the for the people that for many of the colleagues that I work with in the travel industry, we're very high touch. We provide like concierge level travel planning services. Many of us are not necessarily volume operators. We like to do very
Absolutely.
highly customized travel experiences. So, if you think about it economically, you can only make so much money when you're providing a one person to one client thing. The only thing you can do really is charge more per hour, essentially, charge more per trip, only take like luxury clients, for example. You could work on groups where there's more people, so you get more money out of your commission. You could develop sort of a model where you're employing other independent subcontractors, sort of like what I'm doing. There's limited business models that are effective when you're in this type of service-based industry. So any way that you can maximize your marketing efforts to eliminate the amount of time you spend one-on-one with someone is so worth the time and money that you invest initially to set it up. So I think that your ideas are really great ideas, and I don't think that they're discussed enough in the travel industry, because we do get wrapped up in operating in our business rather than on our business.
Absolutely.
And dealing with individual clients, and then we think we don't have time to look at our business strategically. But in the long run, it's worth your sanity, and it's worth the longevity of your business to invest in this type of thinking and in this type of doing. So
Well, and one of the
I love
interesting
it.
things I think about travel is that even though we tend to identify a difference between like your budget traveler and your luxury traveler, there are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that fall somewhere in between, and with the
Mm-hmm.
right education and nurture can become a luxury traveler if you
Mm-hmm.
teach them about why the investment is worth it and what they're getting for that
Absolutely.
money. And so one of the
Absolutely.
things that marketing material can do when you have an automated system like email is qualify those people. So you can put people who might fall somewhere in the middle there, who are interested but maybe don't know if it's worth investing in, and educate them as to why and develop them into a luxury traveler who is willing to pay more for concierge service. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, if you think about it, I mean, that's a really powerful way to broaden your pool. Another kind of interesting way about it is it lets us provide a more customized experience in a really simple way. So if the
Mm-hmm.
first time that you speak to a qualified lead, you can pull up their email in your email system, and you can see, based on their history and how they've interacted with your email list, every vacation idea that you've emailed them that they clicked on.
Mm-hmm.
That you start that conversation already knowing so much about their preferences and what attracts them and what they gravitate to. So you are more prepared to put the right answers in front of them the first time, which means
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to closing that conversation, there is less work in it for you to gather the right information and less guesswork. And in a service-based business, which I have 100% been there, where you're trying to make those sales calls count every single time. The warmer that lead is, the more qualified that lead is, the better
Mm-hmm.
use of your time it becomes.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that that's kind of the typical progression too for a client, is that more likely than not, they're not just going to like see you the first time you hop on social media and be like, ooh, sign me up. It's more like you're going to have to go through that that long-term relationship building process through email, through social media, however you decide to do it, but preferably with email specifically. And after some time, like you mentioned, once they do finally decide to make the move and put in a trip inquiry form or send you an email or whatever it is, take some action, you can go into their history and see, like, exactly like you said, oh, they opened this article about Disney vacation, but they didn't open this article about beer vacations. So they're probably more interested in family travel than, beer travel, for example. So, so that's more likely how it's going to go. So thinking about it from the long-term aspect is an important mindset to go into this process as well.
Absolutely, because anytime we can give people that customized high-touch feel without it taking high-touch time is a win for us as a business. Because what we have to counter in our clients is that they are used to Amazon, which has incredibly powerful algorithms to figure out what they want before they want it. There's a really interesting study. There's a book called The Power of Habit, which is an incredible book. It's not about business, but it's an incredible business book because it talks about why people create the habits that they do. And one of the things they talk about in there is how Target figured out how to use shopping information to figure out women were pregnant before they knew they were pregnant. And they were good at it, and they did it.
So
and they
smart.
figured out an algorithm that was able to reliably pinpoint when a woman was pregnant before she had told anyone, and oftentimes before she knew herself, based on a slight change in her shopping habits. And so this had to do with an intersection of, her age and where she lived and what she was buying and changes in her shopping behavior. Like one of the things that they talked about was Tums, so buying antacids, and that sort of stuff. It's a really funny little anecdote from the data engineer about how they figured it out, and that it surprised them what it was. But so we have businesses out there, big businesses out there doing that, and so there's a level to which people expect the businesses they interact with to know the answers before they tell them. And as a small business, as a solopreneur, that's a really intimidating barrier to come up against.
We don't have data engineers in our
Exactly.
It's
but
us.
What we can do is we can, one of the things I like about email is that email allows us to let our audience member self-select and self-segment. As long as we set up the opportunity where we can expose them to options and they can tell us about what they want. So by asking them questions about, would you prefer, if you're going to the beach, would you prefer to, drive to Florida, or do you want to go exotic and go to Belize or one of those, right? So because people have different priorities, but what that lets us do is then we can send them email based on their preferences. And when we talk to them, we have some of that information. But there is so much power as a small business to having a client interact with our email material, our email strategy, our email content, and when they open it, say, oh, she just gets me. When it becomes personal, when we can put that Main Street feel back into it, it gives us a way to compete with the data engineer giants who are just able to put kind of random things in front of people with great accuracy, but it's still pretty random. We can get really specific because we also have a brain to individually say, here's what I know about this person. I can make an educated guess based on my experience.
Yeah, that's really helpful. That's a good point. Kind of, and it's also important as a business owner, especially when you're starting out, to I don't know if you followed James Wedmore at all. Do you know who he is? Mind Your Business. He's one of my favorite. I love to listen to his podcasts. One of the things he tells his followers to do is to operate your business the way that you envision it to be, not the way it is. So you may just be starting out now. You may have been going for a couple of years, but you just really haven't gotten to the groove of things. Your business may not be where you want it to be, and that's most likely the case for everybody. But until you start thinking and operating your business the way that you envision it to be, it's really not going to get there. And so what Kristen is, saying is essentially, even though you don't have the resources of Target or Amazon.com or something like that, think strategically like that. Start thinking of ways that, how you want to interact with your clients and how you want to automate things to make your life easier, so that when you do get to that point, it's already done. And honestly, your process to that point will be quicker because you'll already be in the groove of operating at that level, if that makes sense. I mean, they always tell you to not dress for the job you have, but dress for the job you want. And I think mindset-wise, that has a lot of impact on how you operate your business as well. Sort of an anecdote for that, I guess.
Well, I think overall, when we talk about content strategy, because what I do is the connection between social media and advertising and blog content and email content, and taking all of those things and customizing it for a business based on their user journey. So if we look at based on, your specific market and who you are specifically working for, who is your absolute dream client, where are they and what are they feeling when they first find you, and what do they experience between that moment and the awareness of their problem and making that decision to spend money with you. Because if we can look at that journey and identify it, and then build all of your content specifically to meet them where they are on that journey, then it becomes a much smoother path. And when it becomes a smoother path, they're more likely to travel it, which means they're more likely to get to that decision point of deciding to spend money and invest with you. And being intentional about that, the difference between that intentional strategy and a content calendar really has to do with the big picture, holistic approach and understanding how every piece of content you create and every touch point you create for your business and your user becomes a part of the sales process. And it makes a tremendous difference when we look at it from a big picture instead of saying, okay, what's the minimum I can do here in order to make this happen? One of the things you spoke about when you're starting out, and the power of email is in its cost effectiveness. So conversion from email has tremendous numbers. It's one of the highest, when you look at percentage wise, it's super high converting. It takes some work and it takes some strategy. You have to be intentional about it. You can't just throw spaghetti at the wall and expect to have email that works. But when it's done well, it's so incredibly cost effective. You can get started, I know specifically with ConvertKit, it's just the one that I work with the most, but you can get started for $29 a month. And so when you think about how much lead interaction you have to do to fund $29 a month, and how much of that lead generation and lead nurturing that email can take on, it becomes very cost effective, very fast. Because I'm not a big fan of people spending lots of money in a small business. I bootstrapped much more than I spent money to make money. But how I look at it is I'm going to find tools that can do the things I need to do faster and better and costing less money than I can earn during that same time frame. And with email, there's no doubt about it. Automating is so much more effective and so much more profitable than me trying to do that on my own.
Definitely. It's one of the things that's definitely worth investing in, for sure.
Absolutely.
And $29 a month in the grand scheme of things is nothing.
Absolutely. So what I've done, obviously email strategy is huge, and it's very personal because it's very specific to what you're doing. And so it's difficult for me to, get really super specific, which I know people need to do. So what I've done is I have a email strategy map, And once I have, a computer that can actually connect to internet, once I figure out these tech issues, I will send you a link to that where everybody can access that completely for free. And it's just a way to sort of walk through the information you already have to leverage it for emails and how to apply that to email strategy. It's a really simple way to think about getting started. And I know I sent it to you on an email, but the other offer that I was going to make, I know people are in kind of that year-end making decisions for their business, but if anyone from your group wants to take advantage of any of the one-on-one offers that I have through the end of the year, we'll just do 50% off.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure I post that information in the comments, but tell us a little bit about that 50% off stuff.
Sure.
The one-on-one thing.
The one-on-one, I have a couple of different ways that I work with people. I tell people all the time that how I ended up as a professional blogger is because if I could pick my perfect job, I would be a professional brainstormer because I love it. I'm an idea person. I find it really fun. And so all of my one-on-one programs are designed to let me really dive into your business for a short period of time and learn all about it and do all the dreaming because that's really fun for me. And so what I like to do and how I see my clients have the most success is I have a wonderful program called Power Push, and it's 4 weeks, very focused on content strategy, weekly calls. That's a lot of times when people are launching their email strategy, that's a favorite one. If you currently have an email list and are ready to make it profitable, I also have an email strategy intensive that is very popular. And that is 4 hours over 2 days. We completely break down all of your email strategy, everything from developing an opt-in to outlining sequences and creating them. I will edit your sequences for you, and we'll look at conversions, and we'll create all of the decision points, so when to decide if something is working or not, and I'll give you very specific numbers on if it doesn't hit this percentage conversion, it's time to scrap it. So we get real specific for your business. And then I also just have hourly coaching if you have specific problems about setup or a specific system or anything like that. But any of those one-on-one options, any of them are 50% off for your audience until the end of the year.
Thank you so much. And in terms of the first thing that you mentioned, the Power Push, can you talk about that a little bit more, who that would be useful for?
Sure. So the Power Push is it's sometimes particularly when you're implementing a new system or a new strategy, the sticking points happen when you start to implement and something isn't working the way that you thought it would, or you get stuck on a point and you're just not sure what to do. And the Power Push is designed to get you through that. So for 4 weeks, for 1 hour, we have a 1 hour call to answer any questions, to do any kind of hardcore strategy stuff. And then during those 4 weeks, you have unlimited email support. And so it's nice having sometimes an on-call help desk. And so, for example, with email things, if you're implementing a sequence and you start running into problems, you're just not sure how to make something work, I can hop on my email, make you a quick video to walk you through it, and you're able to learn from my 15 years of mistakes instead of having to make them on your own.
Okay. And so just kind of as an example, so say we have a person watching now who's considering starting a travel business, and they go ahead and decide to start, and they haven't implemented an email marketing strategy at all. Tell them where they would start with you.
If they were going to start with me, I would do one of two things. Either if their business is started and they know who they want to attract, and they know kind of what they want to do, but they're needing to put their systems in place, then the Power Push is perfect because it gives them some support through the implementation. If they're still in the dreaming kind of planning phase, then my suggestion would be to book a Power Hour, because we can sit down for 60 minutes and really line out the next steps, because that way they can get going on that and get some traction before investing any more than that.
Okay. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I just want it to be clear to everyone. So say there's somebody who's watching that already has a business, but they feel like their email strategy is lacking. where would you recommend they go with you from there?
That person would be perfect for the email strategy intensive, because
Okay.
one of the things we do in there is that if they already have some collateral set up for their email, maybe they have a sequence or two, maybe they've been sending out emails, and so they have click-through rates to look at and that sort of thing. We go into their email system and break it all down, figure out what's working, what's not, look at cold subscribers, look at who's disengaging, who's unsubscribing, which strategies are working best to get people on, all of those really kind of nitty gritty inside the system pieces, and say, how can we make this make more money for you?
And then do you have particular autoresponder systems that you do or don't? I know you use ConvertKit, but are there any that you don't work with, like
I've worked with the majority of the ones on the market. I prefer not to work with Infusionsoft just because I find it a little bit of a headache. But I am happy to help you work with it. I don't. If I can help it, I don't sign on to it.
Okay. All right. So I guess the point is, no matter where you're at in your business, if you're curious about Kristen's services, and maybe one of the scenarios that we mentioned doesn't really apply to you, just reach out to her. I'll put her contact information in the comments, but her email is kristen@blogyourgenius.com. And just ask her what she thinks would be a good fit for you. She actually said that you can answer most questions in 15 minutes or less. So, if she can help guide you to where you need to go. And can you talk a little bit about your community? And I'll share the link for that as well, so people are aware of it.
So we have the Blog Your Genius community. It's a really wonderful group of folks who are creating content either as a blogger or they're creating content to grow their business. And in the community, we tackle one kind of piece of the puzzle every single month. So we have classes every month that launch. And then people who join the community, it's $25 a month, also get access to every single course that I create. And creating courses is my favorite thing. So typically I launch a new one about every quarter. So they get access to all of that, plus informal Q&A sessions, lots of Facebook Lives of behind the scenes of my business, because I believe in transparency. So for example, like 3 months ago, I built a website from scratch on Facebook Live. Just to show people kind of what it looked like and what the steps looked like and where I got stuck and where I had to ask for help. I give people like my Trello boards and how I organize all of my planning and my content strategy, all of that fun stuff. And I figured out a long time ago that the people that I wanted to help the most, they were stay-at-home moms like me, often couldn't afford really expensive one-on-one coaching. Because as a business, I can only discount those one-on-one services so much and manage to stay in business. And so I launched Blog Your Genius as the answer to that, because $25 a month, most people can swing, and it gives me the ability to still give people all of those resources.
So you said you like to create courses. What are some examples of the courses that you have?
So I have a Main Street email course, which is all about creating sequences and that sort of, the specifics behind mapping out an email strategy. That one is coming out soon, I believe in January. I will have that finished. I have a PR Like a Pro for your business course that is coming out. It's going on sale Black Friday,
Nice.
really super soon, with a wonderful, do you know Moni Jefferson?
Mm-hmm.
Moni is the PR person who is partnering with me on that. So she talks all about the PR stuff, and I created systems around it. And all of that is included in that course. I have Kickstart, which is a content planning course. It's all about how to create a year's worth of blog and social content in 1 week and make a plan for your whole year designed around your seasonal marketing efforts. Affiliate marketing, which is one of my favorite things ever. And if you own a business, you should be using affiliate marketing. if you ever recommend another
I
business
need to.
and
I
you're
need
not
to
getting
get
paid
into
for it,
it. Yeah.
then you're doing it wrong. But affiliate marketing is a really popular one of mine. Um, all sorts of different content strategy pieces. So how to use various products like ConvertKit, Thrive Architect. I have one on them. Trying to think of all of them. All sorts of little nitty gritty pieces. Basically, anytime I come up against a question that people are asking me consistently, then I create a way to teach you how to do it.
And you said the people in your membership group get access to these compliments. It's included.
Yep, every member gets access to every single course that I create.
That's so
Yep.
cool. I know we have some people that are in our group too that are travel bloggers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're mostly focused on the blogging model. So if you haven't checked out Kristen's website, Blog Your Genius, and her community, it definitely would be worthwhile to check it out because she's got some great resources. So I've been monitoring and we haven't had any questions yet. I've probably asked all the questions. But I know that there will be possibly some replay here. I'm pretty sure there will be replay because I know that this is in the middle of a work day, so you never know who can or cannot watch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post all the information that Kristen mentioned in the comments. She's going to email me some information about her email strategy map so I can provide that for you guys to check out. If anybody that's watching has a question, please type it in the comment box so that we can address it. But otherwise, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone?
If you are looking to grow your business and you're wondering where to focus your outreach strategy, email should be a basic backbone, fundamental component of your marketing and of the content that you're using to nurture and develop client relationships. If it's not, you are simply leaving money on the table. And there are simple, straightforward ways to get started without it becoming just another to-do that sits on your to-do list and gets moved from day to day. It's just a matter of making a plan and executing.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like with some of your projects, you can help with the execution part quite a bit. So if you're like me, or some of your programs, I'm sorry, if you're like me and you're all about outsourcing, Kristen might be a good opportunity for you to work with because, she sounds like with your, it's your Power Push. Is it that one or is it the other program where you kind of actually do help with the implementation?
The email
process?
strategy intensive is probably, if you're ready to outsource and you just want to get it done, then we can make that happen.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Well, I think that is it for today. I really appreciate you joining us. And I know I learned a lot and I'm excited because I haven't implemented quizzes in my email marketing strategy at all. And I've been thinking about it quite a bit. And I do know that there's a couple independent contractors on my team that were thinking about using it as well. So there should be some follow-up from us. And for those who are watching who are already in the travel industry, if you don't sign up for Kristen's emails, do sign up for that because, actually, maybe let me ask you one more question before we go. I don't want to keep you from your family too long, but some of the professional business coaching type organizations I belong to in the travel industry are all about a weekly newsletter that's formatted and has like a very literally a newsletter look. And that's kind of how a lot of people have been taught. They should be sending out like a weekly newsletter that has sort of the same structure every single time, rather than some of these more just text-based sequences that come out from a lot of email marketers. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because it kind of blew my mind when I first heard about that this newsletter template is not really the way to go necessarily. And that actually just like straight up text and consistent follow-up essentially is more the way to go. Can you kind of talk on that subject a little bit? Do you know what I'm
Sure.
asking? I probably
Absolutely.
can't
I know
articulate
exactly
it
what
very
you're
well.
asking. And I'll
Okay.
tell you that the short answer is that it depends. It is always
Okay.
worth testing what resonates
Mm-hmm.
best with your audience. But I can tell you, I am involved in some way, whether through consulting or the one-on-one work that I do, or the contract work that I do for a couple of companies, plus my own. I have three brands of my own. And in all of those emails, I send thousands and thousands of emails a week. And
Oh
over
my
all
God.
of those numbers, I can tell you that the best performances I am seeing are coming from text-based emails that feel like they are coming from a person I know. Because
Mm,
right now, there is so much spam in our email that looks like the weekly ad from Target, right?
mm,
Here's this product you might be interested in. Here's the newest sale. Here's
mm-hmm.
a false sense of urgency that tries to make you open this email. We all read enough email that we recognize all of those tactics. Instead, if we take a very personal approach and we say, here's a letter from me to you, educating you or telling you about something that based on your previous behavior, I know you might be interested in. That is so much more valuable and so much more relationship based. And it breaks through the noise of
Mm-hmm.
this week's sale. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? So it's worth
Yeah.
testing, but that's what I'm seeing.
No, and I mean, I heard another at the military influencer conference in Orlando, another email marketing strategist. I think she was from ConvertKit, possibly, talk about
Mm-hmm.
how her highest performing people do this text, just very personalized. It's like you're getting an email from a friend type strategy. And it kind of blew my mind because that was the opposite of what I had been taught in email marketing. And so I've been experimenting with it. And I feel like I'm getting better open rates, at least, if nothing else, with just these like seemingly boring emails, but
Yep.
actually are more substantive probably in the long run. And so it's sort of like, it was sort of a mind blown moment and I'm still processing it. So that's why I'm saying, like, between me and some of the people in my community, there might be some follow up for you because we're working through this. It's like you got taught the ABCs one way and now you're getting it taught a different way. And you're like, okay.
And one of the things to
So,
remember is that with online business, everything changes. And it changes
yeah.
based on how people interact with technology and content. And that's what's
Mm-hmm.
really important is you don't have to be a trendsetter, but you have to be aware of what your audience is doing and adjust your business practices based on that.
Very true. So that's, again, it goes back to kind of figuring out what works, experimenting, and I think also being open to hearing other ideas, because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who teach the other style of email marketing that would be like, no, that's not. But what hurt does it cause other than the hours it might take to implement a whole new marketing strategy? To what hurt does it cause otherwise, if so.
Absolutely.
But that's where there are great resources out there like Kristen's program and Kristen herself to help you kind of navigate this new process. So but yeah, I don't want to keep you. I don't want to keep you from your family anymore. And again, I really appreciate you coming on. I know we've had some tech challenges. I know you're having like storms and all kinds of fun stuff up there. But I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving, and I will share your stuff in the comments here. And I hope that we can work together in the future again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Take care, Kristen.
Thank you.
Bye.